You'll recall from the previous lesson that Christian living is the process of personal sanctification. This personal sanctification must take place on at least three levels: the conceptual, the behavioral, and the emotional levels. Or, as we have put it, sanctification involves the development of orthodoxy, orthopraxis, and orthopathos. Now, these three dimensions of Christian living are highly interdependent, forming webs of multiple reciprocities. Correct thinking, or orthodoxy, affects our behavior, orthopraxis, and our emotions, orthopathos. Our behaviors, orthopraxis, influence the way we conceptualize things, orthodoxy, and how we feel about them, orthopathos. And of course, our feelings, or orthopathos, deeply influence how we behave, orthopraxis, and how we think, orthodoxy. Time will not allow us to explore all the ways technical terms impinge on this interplay, so we will limit ourselves to one major way they can enhance and one way they can hinder Christian living. Let's look first at one way the special vocabulary of systematic theology can be a positive enhancement of living for Christ. One of the most important advantages of learning technical terms for Christian living is that they serve as simple references for complex biblical teachings. At first, the list of special expressions that appear in systematic theology can be daunting. There are just so many of them, and they seem so difficult to remember. But after some time, technical terms actually offer the great advantage of making things simpler. We can recall intricate biblical teachings with a quick reference to a technical term and then apply them to our thinking, behavior, and emotions. Imagine for a moment a person who does not have much knowledge of the vocabulary of systematic theology. For instance, as surprising as it may sound, I've often been asked by new Christians, is Jesus God or God's Son? It isn't difficult to understand why people can be confused about this. As they read the Bible without a knowledge of technical terms, they have no concept ready to hand that can help them. They read one biblical passage and it seems to say that Jesus is God. They read another passage and it seems to say that He is the Son of God who submits Himself to God. No wonder, then, that Christians are often confused when it comes to practical questions like, to whom should I pray, Jesus or God? If Jesus taught us to pray to the Father, then why do so many Christians pray to Jesus? For that matter, if Jesus taught us to pray to the Father, then why do we sing praises to the Holy Spirit? To answer these questions for someone who has no background in technical theological language would take a lot of time and effort. They must search out countless biblical passages and draw them together into some kind of cogent understanding. This task is so complex that most young believers simply give up and just do what they see others doing. But imagine for a moment believers who know the technical vocabulary of systematic theology. If they wonder, is Jesus God or is He God's Son? Or if they wonder, should I pray to the Father or to the Son or to the Spirit? Then answering their questions is a much simpler task. In fact, Christians who know the technical vocabulary of systematics usually don't even raise these questions because the answer can be given in one simple technical term: the Trinity. If a person is aware of the meaning of this term, then many of these kinds of questions are answered almost immediately, and we can almost intuitively apply the orthodox answer to orthopraxis and orthopathos. The ability to simplify and recall complex issues is one of the greatest enhancements technical terms offer our Christian living. Although the special vocabulary of systematic theology can enhance Christian living in a number of ways, we should also be aware that it can present hindrances to our sanctification. As I have watched myself and others become increasingly familiar with the technical expressions of systematic theology, one disadvantage has come to the foreground time and again. Knowing the special vocabulary of systematics can lead to spiritual pride. This is especially true with younger students of theology. Here's how the problem often comes up. Students of theology expend a lot of intellectual energy learning the technical terms of theology, and they find them to be very convenient to use. But at the same time, most lay people do not have the ability, time, or interest to learn these kinds of details. And often, students of theology begin to think themselves superior to others who do not have the technical vocabulary of systematics. They become so full of pride that they actually believe increased vocabulary implies increased sanctification. But this is hardly the case.